Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. We'll continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's The 99 Beautiful Names of God, Al-Maqsad Al-Asna fi Sharhi Asma'illah Al-Husna, translated by David Burrell and Nazir Zahir. We have reached the 11th name, Al-Mutakabbir. We are on page 67. Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah said, Al-Mutakabbir, the proud, is one who regards everything as unworthy of consideration in relation to himself, who sees greatness and majesty only in regard to himself and looks upon others as a king looks upon his servants. And if his assessment be correct, he will truly be proud. And the one with this assessment will truly be proud. Moreover, this is absolutely inconceivable of anyone but God, great and glorious. But if that presumption of greatness were false, and the one who considered himself incomparably great were not as he saw himself, then the pride would be false and reprehensible. In fact, should anyone regard himself in particular as majestic and great to the exclusion of all else, his assessment would be fallacious and his consideration vain, unless he be God. May he be praised and exalted. I think the accounts of the Tanbih gives us where the human being, the ascetic, the true Sufi, where the human being should be. For one thing, do not compete with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every respect, but in, just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala detests the human mutakabbir. Al-kibriya'u isari. Remember. So the counsel, the proud among men, is the knower, skilled in renunciation. This is about Zuhd. So here Zuhd is seen as renunciation really of everything that blocks you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The meaning of the knower's renunciation lies in freeing himself from whatever would distract his heart from the truth. Truth here in capital letter, but it's really al-haq. وشيء كل شيء هو الحق تعالى سبحانه وتعالى, and in disdaining everything but the truth. May he be praised and exalted, thus despising both this world and the next, while removing himself from whatever in either one of them could distract him from the truth most high. Before moving to the renunciation of one who is not a knower, despising entails a certain negative feeling, a degree of hatred. But mustahqir, really, the dunya wal akhirah, seeing it something haqir as belittling, really. If you might say, استحقر الشيء فهو حقير, then you might say something like it's nothing, it's nothing, and it should be in your hand, not in your heart, in your pocket, could be. So the nor ascetic الزاهد العارف, he knows um, how small, how negligent, how trivial maybe حقير things are compared to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now the next nor or rather the next ascetic, or the next person who renounces things but without having that kind of knowledge like the first one. And if we will read the rest of the paragraph, and then probably I'll compare it to the world of business. The renunciation of one who is not a knower, however, is but a transaction and a contractual arrangement, buying the good of the next world with the good of this one. He renounces something now, hoping that it will be multiplied later. But this is only advanced purchasing and bargaining. Whoever becomes a slave to the passion of food for food and sex, lust, is himself despicable, even were all that to last. The proud one despises every passion and gain that the beasts might conceivably share in, but God knows best. When you share something with the animals, how could that be compatible with pride? I said this is. I'm going to compare this to the world of business. This is the businessman mentality, merchant, if you will. Okay. So whether we talk about a merchant, which almost nobody uses today, we still use merchandise, but the idea is it's the businessman mentality paradigm. You exchange something, you invest. It's like you want a higher return in the hereafter for what you give up right here. فيترك الشيء عاجلا طمعا في أضعافه آجلة. So you just simply that your share will have a higher yield. It's business. This is why we need to remember رابعة العدوية, who it has been attributed to her that she said that she worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not because of greed and the goodies of paradise, nor fear of hellfire. Rather, she worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because that's what is right. Or that's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the truth, the haqq. Al-Khaliq, the next three are together, 12, 13, and 14. Al-Khaliq, Al-Bari', Al-Musawwir, the creator, the producer, and Al-Musawwir, the fashioner. The al-bari without really when producing without a previous example. It might be thought that these names are synonymous and that they all refer to creating and inventing, but it does not need to be that way. Rather, everything which comes from, or rather, everything that comes forth from nothing to existence needs first of all to be planned, secondly to be originated according to the plan, and thirdly to be formed after being originated. God, may be praised and exalted, is creator, Khaliq, inasmuch as he is the planner, Muqaddir, and producer, Al-Bari, inasmuch as he initiates existence, and fashioner, Musawwir, inasmuch as he arranges the forms of the things invented in the finest way. Best fashion, best form. Uh, this can be likened to building, for example, which requires an appraiser to estimate what he will need by way of wood, bricks, and land area, as well as the number of buildings with their length and their breadth. The latter is the responsibility of an architect who will sketch and design them. Then it requires a builder responsible for the work, which begins with the foundations of the buildings. Then it needs a decorator to chisel its exterior and to enhance its appearance, and someone other than the builder assumes this responsibility. This is what is customary in planning, building, and designing, but it is not like that in the actions of God, great and glorious. For he himself is planner and originator and decorator, since he is the creator, the producer, and the fashioner. I وليس كذلك أفعال الله. In the Arabic text, it shows up a bit um, earlier in the text. So think about it. Literally, it's the ninth line. So here it shows up a little bit because if one reads the first paragraph, it almost should have been there rather than the second, towards the end of the second paragraph. But it is not like that in the actions of God. It's a bit introduced late, and it should have been, I'm talking about it should have been earlier, not simply because the Arabic has it earlier in the text, but because it's very important to understand that in general, if you talk about an architect who needs to plan, he needs to, that's not really the case with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Kun fayakun. Another example is the fashioning of man. One of his creatures is existence that requires a planning of that from which his existence comes, for he is a body of a special kind. جسم مخصوص. And the body is inevitably first, so that it may be characterized by attributes, as a builder needs tools if he is to build. Then the constitution of a man will not be sound without both water and earth, for earth alone is utterly dry and will not fold or bend to make movements, whereas water alone is utterly wet, so it neither holds together nor stands up, but rather spreads out. So it is inevitable that the wet be mixed with the dry to a proper balance, and the result is called clay. That then it is necessary to have some heat to cook it until the mixture of water with earth be so constituted that it will not separate. For man is not fashioned from pure clay, but from fired clay, like the potters. صلصال صلصال كالفخار. Then it is necessary to have some heat to cook it until the mixture of water and earth be so constituted that will not separate. For man is not fashioned from pure clay, but from fired clay, like the potters. For pottery is clay turned into a paste by water, which fire bakes until its mixture is properly constituted. Then we need to estimate a specific measure of water and of clay, for if it be too little, for example, human actions will not result from it, but will be on the scale of atoms and ants. Uh, this is the translation here. While dhar is dharra and dhar, but it's possible to translate that, of course, into atoms, but had it not been associated with ants. Dhar is this very tiny, small ants. Okay, because also the immediate context is about the role of the wind. That should give us a hint that it's not about atoms, it's about the smaller, the very small ants. So the wind will scatter it, and the smallest thing destroy it. The wind will scatter it and destroy it. In fact, not only destroy it, تدمير could be for inanimate objects. In general, ويهلكه أدنى شيء. Most probably we talk about a living organism. Definitely, in terms of translation, it is wrong. Nor does it require, for example, a mountain of clay, for that would exceed the amount needed, just enough, neither too much nor too little, in a proportion known to God, great and glorious. Now all this resolves to planning, and he is creator by virtue of planning these things, fashioner by virtue of originating according to the planning, and producer by virtue of sheer origination and invention from nothing into existence. For sheer origination is one thing, and origination according to plan is another. This is necessary for one to recall who eschews reducing creation to sheer planning, even though it has a certain linguistic rationale, since Arabs call a shoemaker a creator, for he estimates some layers of the shoe with respect to others. In that respect, the poet says, "You have indeed cut what you have created, while other people create, but then do not cut." ولا أنت تفري ما خلقت وبعض القوم يخلق ثم لا يفري. You basically تقدير. Because really Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of fashion, is the best of creators, but of course people do not create per se. It's for us it's always a metaphor. As for the name fashioner, that verse of poetry, I think from Zuhair bin Abi Salma, for the name fashioner, Musawwir, it belongs to him, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inasmuch as he arranges the forms of things in the finest order and forms them in the finest way. This is one of the attributes of action, and no one knows its essential reality except one who knows the form of the world in its totality. And for us, we will never be able to see the world in its totality. I like when some astrophysicists, simply because they are atheists and they want to deny, the existence of God, and that God caused the universe to come into being, into existence through the Big Bang Theory. They describe this world and as ugly. That is, they just simply. But there are astrophysicists who are still atheists, as if this is the fashion amongst the sciences, but they do not really describe the universe as in that fashion. They are amazed by the universe and they are humble. At least, like if you might, what we know of the universe, what we see of the universe, and whatever this seeing means, we see only a part which has 2 trillion galaxies. And a galaxy like ours, the Milky Way, has 400 billion stars. Light needs 100,000 years to cross it. So seeing things as they are, but in particular here, إلا من يعلم صور العالم على الجملة, knows the form, one who knows the form of the world, the universe, in its totality, and then in detail, for the entire world is ruled by a single individual and assembled from parts cooperating in discharging the obligations imposed upon each. For its members and its constituent parts are the heavens, the stars, and the earth, and whatever there is of water and air uh, and the like, which lies between them. Its parts are arranged in a highly organized fashion, so that if that arrangement were altered, the order would be abolished. What is specified to be above is what is fitting to be on high, while what is fitting to be below is in the lower part. So the heavens, the planets, and the earth, السماوات والكواكب والأرض. السماوات, yes, translated as the heavens, the stars, and the earths. And the earth is in the plural. That's in the translation. The heavens, the planets, and the earth, and that which is between them, water and air, we might see a star that is non-existent anymore. What do we know, and what are we aware of? Are we aware that that the beginning of this particular session, almost half an hour ago, uh, the Earth was in a position to which it will never return, because the Earth's orbit, while we might think of it as really fixed, and that the Earth will go back to the same place, that's impossible. Our solar system is moving in an orbit of its own around our galaxy, and the whole galaxy is moving away from other galaxies. And the Earth, when it rotates around the Sun in its own orbit, the movement is really spiral rather than a simple orbit where it goes back to the same place. It will not go back, and we have moved way from that position within the last half hour. What is specified to be above is what is fitting to be on high, while what is fitting to be below is in the lower part, much as a builder places stones at the bottom of the walls. Of course, the concept of above and below, that's problematic, because imagine our globe and somebody is standing in the North Pole, and somebody is standing in the South Pole. The above and below are relative, really, for each one of them sees the universe exactly like not that the map of the universe and what they see, but the idea of that which is above. Both of them have the same sense of above. None of them is below in that sense. So much as a builder places stones at the bottom of the walls and wood above them, not randomly, but wisely and deliberately, in order to make them firm. Whereas if what of that were reversed, and he were to place stones in the top of the walls and wood below them, the building would collapse, for its form would not have been able to stand up. This because we have three names together, and we still have to explain this. So it's still a long entry. I think suffice it for this session. Inshallah, we will continue in the next one tomorrow بإذن الله عز وجل. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.